Hello and welcome in. It's time for another Project Epoch class overview, and today we'll be exploring the cunning arts of the rogue. Thank you to Yakstick for providing valuable rogue knowledge that was key in making this video. Alright, you know the drill. Grab a seat in the front row, maybe a snack, and let's begin. We've got a lot of general rogue changes to cover here. The steady energy gain you'd expect from the Wrath of Lich King client has been reverted to the TBC style energy tick system on Epoch. Due to a TBC baseline, Sap is now usable without breaking stealth and without any talent investment, unlike vanilla. Slice and Dice can now be extended by bleeds, an interesting change to reduce maintenance of this buff. This opens up new opportunities that I'll talk about later. A common challenge for rogues is hitting your hit rating and expertise caps. On Epoch, these stats are way more prevalent on gear, and thus you won't be locked into certain races for meeting this. Rogues on Epoch can now use axes, and that comes with a talent in the combat tree. Wait, does that mean a rogue could use the super slow Deathbringer or maybe a flurry axe? There's lots of new theory crafting to explore, so stay curious. In the combat tree, the first row talent Lightning Reflex now gives 10% agility instead of dodge, a decent buff to an important stat. I bring this up in the general section because this could be an easy talent to pick up for any kind of rogue. Combo points will no longer be removed when clicking off your target, and you can now use the ability Redirect to move your combo points to any target. Improved Expose Armor is now moved deeper into the Assassination tree, but any rogue can extend the Expose Armor debuff without replacing the improved effect. And Expose Armor counts as 5 Sunders for Prot Warrior's Devastate ability, so don't worry about that interaction on Epoch. Poisons now scale with about 2% of your attack power. This should smooth out your scaling and give you a nice boost, especially if you're playing Assassination. Blind is now a physical spell, which means it can't be removed by abilities like Abolish Poison or Stone Form. The infamous and impactful Cloak of Shadows is attainable through a new quest at level 38. And finally, on the more flavor end, the devs have emphasized lockpicking will have lots of more uses throughout the world, like a locked door at the start of Scholomance. Okay, let's talk about Subtlety. This will be a pretty short section. Subtlety has no specific PvE changes, but they aren't particularly played outside of PvP anyway. In PvP, there was a small nerf to cheat death. It's still strong, but the damage reduction at most gear levels will end up being lower than the original ability. Instead of a flat 90% DR, you will receive double your dodge chance in damage reduction up to 90%. It will be possible to pop cheat death and die shortly after before your dodge has scaled enough. Of course, being able to use the capstone talent Shadow Step combined with Redirect is great for Subtlety PvP, as you can now switch targets and surprise enemies mid-combat. That's all for Subtlety. I know it was short, but this spec is pretty complete in TBC and has a strong baseline. The lack of changes doesn't mean Subtlety is any weaker in PvP. Okay, on to combat. As you know from earlier, you will now be able to use axes and invest into the new combat talent, Axe Specialization. This talent actually synergizes well with keeping your slice and dice up without much effort. In PvE, this could amount to more finisher variety in your normal rotation, as you don't have to keep spending combo points and energy on slice and dice upkeep. Also, combat potency should actually be more effective due to an abundance of hit and expertise earlier in your scaling. Remember, there will be lots more of these stats available on gear compared to typical vanilla or TBC itemization. In PvP, Subtlety has historically outshined combat, but potentially with new weapon variety, a straightforward high damage build while sacrificing the tools of Subtlety could be possible. Okay, finally, let's talk about Assassination. Lots to talk about with Assassination. Poison scaling with attack power, vile poisons, the raid buff changes to Curse of Elements, and Storm Strike means you'll be doing a lot more damage through poisons. Improved poisons now also grants a longer duration. This is important as it will funnel into the new Envenom. Everything I've mentioned directly buffs this ability. Expect some huge Envenom hits here. And finally, take note that Envenom now also increases your chance to apply poisons by 10% for a second per combo point spent. The talent Vigor has been improved to grant an additional 10 energy and also increase your energy regeneration, smoothing out your playstyle and making the energy gain closer to combat potency over the duration of a fight. And as mentioned before, you have access to improved exposed armor, a highly sought after raid buff if you will. Mutilate still requires daggers but no longer has a positional requirement, an amazing quality of life improvement and in fact a bit of a buff. Overall, Assassination's PvE playstyle is now much more dynamic and plays more into its poisoner fantasy. Now in PvP, Mutilate not being positional is a decent buff, and Venom being stronger is a pretty big buff against high armor enemies, and there are lots of fun opportunities with the spec to create big crits. That can mean better kill potential in a tight moment. Note, by going Assassination, you will be giving up some typically sought after subtlety tools. Also, there is a new talent for Assassination you can experiment with in PvP called Poison Knife. It seems a little awkward with the duration reduction, but it acts as a ranged version of Shiv. Now, onto the dungeon tier set. The 4-piece is negligible. The 6-piece is a nice benefit for the kidney shot, but most likely the Slice and Dice and Exposed Armor won't see the most use as they will be upkept pretty easily. The 8-piece has changed since the tooltip was made, and there's no accurate tooltip to show you guys. The devs have rumored it will be a 20% chance on cast for 20 energy. It's nerfed from this version due to testing, but still a nice benefit that will smooth out your gameplay. In leveling, combat is the efficient, most practiced leveling spec. It's unchanged and still great for that. Lots of flexibility in different weapon types as you level as well. Subtlety, however, is a great choice for war mode levelers who may have skirmishes during their journey. The Assassination attack power scaling for poisons doesn't quite hit early enough for leveling to feel different in this spec, so don't expect too much change here. For profession optimization, you could think about crafting your own gear or temporary leg buffs with leatherworking, or maybe blacksmithing to craft some new custom daggers we haven't discovered yet. There's a lot of choices here, so just go out and explore all the different possibilities. For racial optimization, rogues are probably the most reliant class on hitting their expertise cap. So if you don't have it from gear, it's probably best to swap your racials at 60 to something that will give you the extra last bit through that race's weapon proficiency. However, Orc is always great, but Troll Haste could be really good for proccing combat potency a lot or applying your poisons more rapidly. Undead, of course, is really great as a PvP choice with Will of the Forsaken. Another thank you to Yaksik and of course you all in the audience for joining me once again. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about all the rogue changes and are you excited to try the class out? And yes, we've done it. We finally finished a class review series for Project Epoch. I started this about a month ago, my first YouTube project ever, and I couldn't have done this without the support of you guys. So thank you so much. Subscribe if you want to see more Project Epoch work. And of course, join me July 26th on the launch and going forward because I'll be streaming lots of Project Epoch. We're going to have giveaways all launch weekend and I'm going to be fostering lots of community events in the future. This is Muzzy and I'll see you guys next time.